My ex-wife cheated, lied, and tried to destroy my business with her new husband. But I uncovered their scheme, protected my kids, and rebuilt everything they tried to take away from me." Tyler Brennan's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel as he eased his SUV into the school drop-off lane. Roosevelt Elementary buzzed with the chaos of the first day. Kids darting, parents waving, teachers hurting. Seattle's fall air carried a crisp bite, but the unease curling in Tyler's gut wasn't from the weather. Today wasn't just about Emma and Jude starting school. It was a stage, and Madison Pierce's ex-wife always knew how to steal the spotlight. At 38, Tyler was a single dad clawing his way back from a divorce that had gutted him financially and emotionally. 2 years ago, Madison had walked away, trading their marriage for a life as a social media influencer, her feed a curated shrine to perfection. Their kids, Emma, 10, with her sharp wit, and Jude, 7, always sketching in his notebook, were the only reason Tyler still dealt with her. That, and the court-ordered custody dance they couldn't escape. He glanced in the rearview mirror. Emma fiddled with her backpack straps, eyes scanning the crowd. Jude pressed his nose to the window, fogging the glass. "Dad, you think Mom's here?" Jude asked, voice small. Probably, Tyler said, keeping it neutral. He didn't trust himself to say more. Madison's new husband, Connor West, would be there too, a walking midlife crisis and too much cologne. The guy oozed charm, but Tyler had seen the cracks. A businessman whose deals were always a little too slick, motives a little too buried. Tyler parked and cut the engine. The school's brick facade loomed, cheerful banners clashing with his mood. He stepped out, helping Jude with his oversized backpack while Emma adjusted her ponytail. The drop-off lane was a gauntlet of hurried goodbyes, but Tyler's focus narrowed as he spotted them. Madison and Connor, striding across the lot like they owned it. Madison's blonde hair caught the light, her smile practiced, her outfit screaming, "Look at me." Connor matched her pace, phone in one hand, the other resting on her back. Tyler's jaw tightened. He knew this script. They'd play perfect couple, perfect parents, while slipping in jabs meant to remind him he was the one left behind. "Ready, guys?" Tyler asked, crouching to Emma's level. She nodded, but her eyes flicked toward her mom. Jude clutched his sketchbook tighter. As they walked toward the entrance, Madison's voice cut through the chatter. "Tyler, there you are." Her tone was honeyed, but her eyes were sharp, assessing. Connor's smirk was already in place, like he'd been rehearsing. Tyler straightened. Game on. The morning unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. Madison hugged Emma and Jude with exaggerated warmth, her perfume lingering as she pulled back to fix their collars. "You two look adorable," she cooed, loud enough for nearby parents to hear. "Did Daddy help pick those outfits?" Emma's smile faltered. "Yeah, we picked them together." "Oh, sweet," Madison said, her laugh a little too bright. "Tyler's getting the hang of this, huh?" Tyler's fingers twitched, but he kept his face neutral. "They're good kids. They make it easy." Connor chuckled, slipping his phone into his pocket. "Takes a village, right, Ty? Gotta stay on top of things." His tone was light, but the implication landed like a jab. "You're barely keeping up." Parents milled around, some stealing glances. Madison thrived on the audience, her voice carrying as she recounted a cute story about Jude's last visit to her place, a story Tyler knew was half-invented. He stayed silent, letting her perform, but his mind was already racing. This wasn't just about school drop-off. Madison and Connor were playing a bigger game, one he couldn't quite see yet. As the bell rang and the kids joined their lines, Emma threw Tyler a quick wave. Jude hesitated, then ran back for a hug. "See you later, Dad," he mumbled into Tyler's jacket. "Always," Tyler said, ruffling his hair. Madison and Connor lingered, their smiles fixed as the crowd thinned. "We should talk soon," Madison called out, her voice casual but pointed. "About the kids' schedules." "Sure," Tyler said, already turning toward his car. He didn't look back, but he felt their eyes on him, weighing, calculating. The drive home was quiet, the radio off, the hum of the engine filling the space where his thoughts churned. Madison's act wasn't new. She'd been rewriting their story since the divorce, painting him as the failure while she glowed in the spotlight. But Connor's presence added a new edge, something sharper, more dangerous. Tyler didn't know what they were after, but he'd learned one thing from the last 2 years. Trust your gut when it says trouble's coming. He pulled into his driveway, the modest craftsman house a far cry from the sprawling home he'd shared with Madison. Inside, the silence was heavy. No kids' laughter, no clatter of dishes. Just him and the weight of the morning. He dropped his keys on the counter and opened his laptop. Work was his anchor, his small software development firm a lifeline he'd built from scratch. Whatever Madison and Connor were planning, he'd be ready. He always was. Tyler guided Emma and Jude through the swarm of parents and kids, the school's entrance a bottleneck of backpacks and hurried hugs. Roosevelt Elementary's courtyard hummed with first-day energy, but Tyler's focus was razor-sharp, locked on Madison and Connor, closing in like sharks circling a raft. Madison's heels clicked on the pavement, her smile a polished weapon. "Emma, Jude, come here," she called, arms wide, as if she hadn't seen them in months instead of last weekend. Emma hesitated, glancing at Tyler, but Jude bounded forward, always eager for her attention. Madison knelt, pulling them into a hug that felt more like a photo op than affection. Her eyes flicked to Tyler, gauging his reaction. "Morning, Madison," Tyler said, voice steady. He shoved his hands in his pockets to keep from clenching them. "Tyler," she replied, standing, her tone sweet enough to rot teeth. "You're looking rested." The pause was deliberate, a jab at his quieter life, as if simplicity was a flaw. Connor stepped up, adjusting his cufflinks, his grin all teeth. "Big day, huh? Kids starting school, new routines. You holding up okay, Ty?" The nickname grated, like sand in a shoe. "I'm good," Tyler said, meeting Connor's gaze. "Kids are ready. That's what matters." "Oh, absolutely," Madison chimed in, brushing a non-existent speck from Jude's jacket. "Though I did notice Jude's shoes are a bit scuffed. We could have grabbed new ones last weekend, Tyler. You know I'm always happy to help." Her smile didn't waver, but the dig landed subtle enough to pass as concern, sharp enough to sting. Tyler's jaw ticked. He likes those shoes. They're broken in. He glanced at Jude, who was flipping through his sketchbook, oblivious to the tension. Connor chuckled, low and smug. "Gotta keep things fresh though, right? Kids grow fast, can't always stick with what's comfortable." His eyes lingered on Tyler, the implication clear. "You're stuck in the past, pal." Parents nearby shuffled along, some stealing glances at Madison's perfect blowout or Connor's flashy watch. She thrived on it, her voice carrying as she turned to Emma. "Sweetie, did you tell Dad about the art camp I signed you up for? It's with that gallery downtown, very exclusive." Emma shifted, tugging her backpack strap. Yeah, sounds cool." Her tone was polite but flat, her eyes darting to Tyler for rescue. "First I'm hearing of it," Tyler said, keeping his voice even. "We'll talk later, Madison. Coordinate." "Oh, of course," she said, waving a hand like it was no big deal. "I just want what's best for them. You know how busy you get." Another jab, this one wrapped in velvet. "You're dropping the ball, Tyler." He didn't bite. "Appreciate the thought. Kids, you good?" He crouched, checking their faces. Emma nodded, her smile tight. Jude gave a thumbs up, already distracted by a friend waving from the school steps. As the bell rang, Madison leaned in, kissing the kids' foreheads with exaggerated care. "Have the best day, my loves. Mommy's so proud." She straightened, tossing Tyler a look that said, "Your move." Connor clapped a hand on Tyler's shoulder, too firm to be friendly. "Keep up, man. They're counting on you." The smirk was back, a glint of challenge in his eyes. Tyler shrugged off the touch, nodding toward the school. "They're counting on both of us. Let's not let them down." He turned, guiding Emma and Jude toward their lines without another word. The crowd swallowed the kids, their backpacks bobbing as they joined classmates. Tyler lingered, watching until they disappeared inside. Madison and Connor were already strolling back to their sleek black Audi, her laughter floating across the lot. He didn't need to hear the words to know they were dissecting him, picking at his edges like vultures. He climbed into his SUV, the door slamming harder than intended. The engine roared to life, but he sat there a moment, staring at the school's banners fluttering in the breeze. Madison's jabs weren't new. She'd been rewriting their divorce story for years, casting him as the guy who couldn't keep up. But Connor's smirks, his oily confidence, felt like a fresh threat. Tyler didn't know their endgame, but he'd learned one thing from surviving Madison. He shifted into gear, pulling out of the lot. The road stretched ahead, leading him home, but his mind was already elsewhere, piecing together the morning, scanning for clues. Whatever they were playing at, he'd figure it out. He always did. Tyler's SUV rolled through Seattle's suburban streets, the morning's chaos fading with each block. His fists gripped the wheel, tight enough to ache, as Madison's jabs and Connor's smirks replayed in his head. The radio stayed off. He didn't need noise to drown out the anger simmering beneath his calm. He'd learned to bury it deep, but today it clawed closer to the surface. He pulled into his driveway, the Craftsman house quiet under the gray fall sky. No kids' shoes by the door, no chatter spilling from the kitchen, just silence, heavy and familiar. 2 years since the divorce, and the emptiness still hit like a punch. Tyler kicked off his boots and crossed the living room, the hardwood cool under his socks. The place was tidy, functional, a far cry from the showcase home Madison had demanded. This was his. Hard won. He sank into the couch, exhaling. The school drop-off played on a loop in his mind. Madison's calculated sweetness, Connor's veiled taunts. She'd always been good at controlling the narrative, twisting their story until Tyler was the one who'd failed, the one who couldn't keep up. Back then, he'd let her, too raw from the betrayal to fight back. But now he saw the cracks in her performance. The way Connor's presence sharpened her edges. They wanted something. He just didn't know what yet. Tyler grabbed his laptop from the coffee table and flipped it open. Work was his lifeline, the one place where he called the shots. His software development firm, Brennan Solutions, wasn't flashy, but it was growing. Steady contracts, loyal clients, a team he trusted. He'd built it from late nights in desperation, a way to prove he was more than Madison's cast-off. Today, it was his armor. He scanned his inbox, project updates, a client thank you, a reminder about a vendor call, routine, grounding. But as he clicked through, his thoughts kept drifting back to the morning. Madison's comment about Jude's shoes. Connor's, keep up, Barb. They weren't random. They were bait, meant to rattle him. And damn it, it worked. Not because he doubted himself as a dad, Emma and Jude were his world, but because he knew Madison never stopped at petty. She played long games. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. The divorce had been brutal, not just for the money or the custody fights, but for how she'd rewritten their past. To her followers, she was the victim, the one who'd escaped a stifling marriage. To their old friends, she was the success story, glowing beside Connor while Tyler faded into that guy who used to be. He'd let her have the spotlight, focused on the kids and his business instead. But today, standing in that school lot, he'd felt the shift. Her control was slipping, and Connor was part of it, maybe the driver. Tyler's phone buzzed on the couch. A text from Emma. School's fun so far. Jude drew a dragon. He smiled, the knot in his chest loosening. Tell him it better be epic, he typed back. Love you. Her reply came fast, a heart emoji. He set the phone down, the moment anchoring him back to the laptop. He opened a client's project file, code and deadlines pulling him in. This was where he thrived. No games, no hidden motives, just problems he could solve. But even as he worked, a corner of his mind stayed on Madison and Connor, picking at their words, their glances. Trouble was coming. He'd bet his house on it, and when it hit, he'd be ready. Tyler hunched over his laptop, the glow of the screen casting shadows across his living room. The house was still, save for the faint hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of settling wood. His coffee sat cold on the table, untouched since the school drop-off. Work usually steadied him, but today, his mind kept snagging on Madison and Connor, their words looping like a bad song. He clicked through his accounts, checking project statuses for Brennan Solutions. 2 major contracts had closed last month, both showing early returns better than he'd hoped. A third was in negotiation, a big one that could push his firm to the next level. He allowed himself a brief nod, proof he was building something real, something Madison couldn't touch. Then an email caught his eye, buried in the inbox from a vendor he'd worked with for years. Subject: inquiry about project details. Tyler frowned, opening it. The message was polite but off. Someone claimed to represent Brennan Solutions had reached out, asking for sensitive project specs, timelines, budgets, client name. His pulse quickened. He leaned closer, rereading. No one on his team would have made that request without his sign-off. He fired off a quick reply, thanking the vendor and asking for any details they could share about the caller, name, number, anything. Then he scrolled through his inbox, searching for other red flags. Nothing obvious, but the unease from this morning hardened into something sharper. Tyler opened his project management software, cross-checking recent activity. Everything looked clean. His team's updates were routine, no unauthorized access. But the vendor's email gnawed at him. He pulled up his client list, scanning for anything out of place. A memory flashed. Connor's smirk at drop-off, that keep-up jab. Was it just posturing or something more? He grabbed his phone and texted his ops manager, Sarah, asking her to double-check their system logs for unusual activity. Nothing urgent, he added, not wanting to alarm her. Yet. Back to the laptop. He opened a browser, hesitating before typing Connor West into the search bar. A few clicks led to LinkedIn, where Connor's profile gleamed. Consultant, entrepreneur, driving innovation. Tyler's lip curled. The guy's posts were all buzzwords and staged photos, but nothing concrete. No hint of what he actually did. Another search, this time for Madison Pierce. Her influencer pages popped up first. Instagram, TikTok, all curated perfection. Smiling with the kids, posing with Connor, captions about living your truth. Tyler scrolled past, uninterested in her highlight reel. He dug deeper, looking for business ties, anything linking her to Connor's world. A faint ping from his email broke his focus. The vendor had replied. No name given, just a generic email address and a phone number with a Seattle area code. Tyler copied the number and ran it through a reverse lookup. No match, probably a burner. His stomach twisted. This wasn't a mistake. Someone was sniffing around his business, and they weren't being subtle. He leaned back, pieces clicking together. Madison's jabs at school weren't just her usual game. They felt coordinated, like a distraction. And Connor, with his slick confidence, wasn't just arm candy. Tyler's gut screamed it. They were after something tied to his company. Not the kids, not custody. His work. He stood, pacing the room. The vendor email, Connor's vague job title, Madison's sudden interest in coordinating schedules, it added up to a pattern, hazy but real. Tyler stopped at the window, staring at the darkening street. He'd spent 2 years rebuilding, pouring everything into his firm, his kids. If they thought they could mess with that, they'd misjudged him. His phone buzzed. Sarah. Confirming the system logs were clean, but promising a deeper audit tomorrow. Tyler thanked her, then set the phone down. He didn't have proof, not yet, but he had enough to start watching. Whatever Madison and Connor were planning, he'd see it coming, and when he did, he'd hit back twice as hard. Tyler's living room was a war room now, laptop humming, papers strewn across the coffee table. The vendor's email sat open on his screen, that rogue inquiry about his projects glaring like a warning shot. It was past 9, the kids long asleep at Madison's for her custody night, leaving Tyler alone with his suspicions. The house was too quiet, amplifying every thought. He started digging, fingers flying across the keyboard. First, Connor West. The guy's LinkedIn was a dead end, vague titles, no substance. But a deeper search pulled up a business registry. Connor had launched a consulting firm 6 months ago, West Dynamics, with a glossy website promising strategic growth solutions. Tyler snorted. Sounded like a front for something shady. Next, Madison. Her influencer empire was all surface, brand deals, selfies, nothing tying her to Connor's business. But Tyler knew her too well. She didn't play sidekick. He switched to a public records database, one he used to vet clients, and typed her name. A hit. An LLC called Stratus Acquisitions, registered 4 months back. 2 names listed as officers, Madison Pierce and Connor West. Tyler leaned back, pulse thrumming. An acquisition firm? His ex-wife, who once called his software work cute, was now in the game of buying companies? With Connor, whose every word dripped ulterior motive. He didn't buy it. This wasn't about them starting fresh. It was about him, his firm, his life. He opened Brennan Solutions financials, scanning for vulnerabilities. The company was lean, profitable, but small enough to be a target. Those 2 big contracts from last month? Someone sniffing around could see dollar signs. The vendor email flashed in his mind. Was Connor testing his defenses, looking for a way in? Or worse, trying to discredit him, tank his reputation, and scoop up the pieces cheap? Tyler grabbed a notepad, jotting down the pattern. Connor's firm, Madison's LLC, the fake inquiry. It wasn't proof, but it was a trail. He thought back. To drop off Madison's jabs, Connor's smirks. They weren't just needling him, they were softening him up, keeping him distracted while they moved on his business. He opened a new tab, searching Stratus Acquisitions. No website, no press, just the bare-bones registry. But a cross-referent pulled up a forum post from a local business group. Someone griping about a pushy consultant, linked to Stratus, asking for dirt on struggling tech firms. The post was anonymous, but the timing fit. 3 weeks ago, right when Tyler's contract started paying off, his phone buzzed. Sarah, his ops manager, with a quick update. Log still clean, but I'll run a full sweep tomorrow. Tyler thanked her, then set the phone down, staring at the LLC's details. Madison and Connor weren't just poking around, they were hunting. He could picture it. Connor sweet-talking vendors, Madison spinning stories to clients, both chipping away until Brennan's Solutions looked weak enough to grab. Tyler stood, pacing to the window. The street outside was dark, a lone street lamp flickering. He'd spent 2 years rebuilding, proving he was more than Madison's ex. His firm wasn't just money, it was his proof, his anchor. If they thought they could take it, they didn't know him at all. He returned to the laptop, opening an email to his lawyer, a guy who'd handled the divorce and knew Madison's tricks. Need to talk ASAP, Tyler wrote. Possible issue with my business. Confidential. He hit send, then pulled up his client list. Time to lock things down. Whatever Madison and Connor were planning, he wasn't waiting to find out. Tyler's kitchen table was a command center by morning, laptop flanked by a notepad scrawled with names and dates. The kids were at school, the house silent except for the drip of the coffee maker. Sleep had been a lost cause. His mind churned all night, piecing together Madison and Connor's moves. Stratus Acquisitions, the fake vendor inquiry, Connor's consulting front. He dialed his accountant Ellen first. She picked up on the second ring, her voice all business. "Tyler, what's up? You sound like you're on a mission." "Something's off," he said, skipping pleasantries. "I need you to run a full audit on Brennan Solutions. Every transaction, every contract, last 6 months. Flag anything weird, payments, inquiries, anything that doesn't add up." Ellen didn't hesitate. "Got it. How deep are we going?" "Deep as it gets. Someone's poking around my accounts and I want to know how far they've reached." "I'll have prelims by tomorrow." She paused. "You okay?" "Yeah," Tyler lied. "Just covering bases." He hung up, already pulling up his lawyer's number. Mark answered with his usual gruff calm. "Tyler, your email sounded urgent. What's the deal?" Tyler laid it out, the vendor email, Stratus Acquisitions, Connor's firm, Madison's involvement. "I think they're trying to undermine my business," he said, voice low. "Maybe tank my rep, maybe grab my contracts. I need you to look into this LLC and any legal moves they might pull." Mark whistled. "Madison's playing dirty again, huh? All right, I'll dig into Stratus and West's outfit. If they're crossing lines, we'll find it. You got anything solid tying them to the vendor thing?" "Not yet," Tyler admitted, "but it's too clean to be a coincidence." "Fair. I'll start with public records, see what shakes loose. Meantime, lock down your client data. No leaks." "Already on it," Tyler said. They set a follow-up for the next day and he hung up, tension easing a fraction. Mark had been a pit bull during the divorce. Tyler trusted him to sniff out trouble. Next, clients. Tyler opened his CRM, scanning his top accounts. These were relationships he'd built over years, small businesses, a few mid-size firms, all loyal because he delivered. If Connor was fishing, he'd likely start with the big fish, planting doubts or sniffing for weaknesses. Tyler wasn't waiting for that shoe to drop. He drafted a short email to his key clients, keeping it professional but warm. "Just checking in, appreciating your partnership, excited about our next steps. Let me know if you've had any odd contacts about our projects." He BCC'd Sarah to track responses, then hit send. Preemptive, not paranoid. Trust was his currency, and he wasn't letting anyone counterfeit it. His phone pinged, a text from Jude's teacher. "Jude forgot his lunch. Can you drop one off?" Tyler glanced at the clock. He had an hour before a team call. Grabbing a lunchbox from the fridge, he headed out, the brief errand a welcome reset. The school was a quick drive, and dropping off Jude's sandwich gave him a chance to see his kids grin through the classroom window. Small wins. Back home, Tyler sat at the table staring at his notes. Audit ordered, lawyer on the case, clients alerted. He'd moved fast, but it didn't feel like enough. Madison and Connor weren't amateurs. They'd planned this, probably months. The LOC wasn't a hobby, it was a weapon. Tyler pictured Connor's smirk, Madison's fake concern at drop-off. They thought he'd fold, the same as he had during the divorce when grief and lawyer fees buried him. Not this time. He opened his laptop again, pulling up his project timelines. If they wanted a fight, he'd make sure his house was ironclad. Every contract, every deliverable. He'd double-check them himself. Brennan Solutions wasn't just his livelihood, it was his proof he'd survived. Let them try to take it. He'd be waiting. Tyler stood in his bedroom, tie half-knotted, staring at his reflection. Tomorrow's investor meeting loomed like a storm cloud, but he wasn't nervous, just focused. The mirror showed a man who'd been through hell and come out sharper. Late 30, eyes tired but steady, jaw set. Brennan Solutions was on the cusp of a leap, and this pitch could seal it. More than that, it was a chance to send a message to Madison and Connor. He'd spent the ES&I's days prepping, every slide, every number, every word of his pitch locked in. The investors, a Seattle venture capital group with deep pockets, wanted growth potential, and Tyler had it. 2 major contracts paying off, a third in the wings, and a lean operation with room to scale. But this wasn't just about money. Madison and Connor's shadow hung over him, their Stratus Acquisitions play a ticking bomb. Landing this deal would armor his business, making it too big to swallow. Tyler adjusted his tie, navy and crisp, and grabbed his blazer. His home office was ready, laptop, notes, a glass of water. He'd practiced the pitch until Emma and Jude started quoting it at dinner, Emma rolling her eyes, Jude giggling. "Dad, you sound like a commercial," Emma had teased. He'd laughed, but it stuck. This had to land. He sat at his desk, opening the deck one last time. Slides clean, data tight. Revenue up 20% year-over-year. Client retention at 95%. Projections showing double-digit growth with new funding. He'd woven in the personal. Single dad, built the firm from scratch post-divorce. Not for pity, but to show grit. Investors ate that up, and Tyler wasn't above using it. His phone buzzed. Sarah, his ops manager. System sweep done, no breaches, but tightened firewalls anyway. Good luck tomorrow. Tyler texted back a quick thanks, his mind already on the meeting. He pictured Connor's smirk, Madison's fake smile. They thought he was small time, a guy scrambling to keep up. This deal would prove them wrong. Not just to them, but to himself. Evening settled in, the house quiet. Tyler walked to the kitchen, grabbing a beer from the fridge. He didn't drink much, but tonight called for it. Standing by the window, he sipped, staring at the dark street. The divorce had stripped him raw. Money gone, confidence shaky. But the firm had been his way back. Every late night, every one contract rebuilt him. Tomorrow wasn't just a pitch, it was war. He'd walk into that room and own it, not because he needed their money, but because he needed to win. He set the bottle down, mind clear. The kids were with Madison tonight, probably eating takeout while she scrolled her phone. He missed them, Emma's sarcasm, Jude's sketches, but the distance let him focus. Back at his desk, he ran the pitch again, voice low, timing each slide, perfect, not a second wasted. Tyler shut the laptop and leaned back. Madison and Connor could scheme all they wanted. He wasn't the guy they'd left behind. Tomorrow he'd show the investors who he was, and soon he'd show his ex and her husband they'd picked the wrong fight. Tyler woke to the buzz of his phone, the screen glowing with a notification. It was barely 7 a.m., the kids still asleep down the hall on their custody morning with him. He rubbed his eyes and opened the message. A Google alert he'd set for Brennan Solutions. The link led to an online article, and his stomach dropped as he read the headline. Local tech firm faces leadership questions amid growth. He clicked through, scanning the piece. It was short, vague, and vicious anonymous. Anonymous sources, claiming Tyler's firm was overstretched, hinting at mismanagement, even questioning his focus as a CEO. No hard evidence, just enough insinuation to raise eyebrows. The site was a low-tier business blog, but it didn't matter. In Seattle's tight-knit tech scene, rumors spread like oil slicks. Tyler's jaw clenched. This wasn't a coincidence. The investor pitch was tomorrow, and someone wanted him rattled. He scrolled to the byline, a generic name, probably a pseudonym. The site's contact page listed a PR firm, Crest Communications, one he didn't recognize. He opened a new tab, searching the firm's name. A sparse website popped up, touting reputation management and strategic outreach. Digging deeper, he found a cached forum post linking Crest to a string of smear campaigns for hire, petty but effective. He leaned back, pieces snapping together. Connor, the guy's consulting firm, West Dynamics, screamed shady, and Stratus Acquisitions was no better. Tyler bet his left shoe this was their move. Plant a story to spook investors, weaken his position. Madison's fingerprints were there too. She'd always known how to twist perception. He grabbed his phone, texting Mark, his lawyer. Found an article trashing my firm, tied to a PR outfit called Crest Communications. Can you trace it? Mark replied instantly. Send me the link. On it. Tyler forwarded the article, then pulled up his email to flag it for Sarah. Heads up, he wrote. Bogus story about us. Keep the team focused, no leaks. She'd keep things tight at the office. Tyler stood, pacing the kitchen. The kids would be up soon, and he needed to compartmentalize. Pancakes for them, war for him. He opened his laptop again, saving screenshots of the article, the PR firm's site, everything. Emotional reactions were Madison's trap. He'd stay cold, methodical. Every move documented. I want proof if Connor's behind it. The floor creaked. Emma, shuffling in, hair a mess. Dad, what's for breakfast? She mumbled, rubbing her eyes. Pancakes, Tyler said, forcing a smile. He closed the laptop. Go wake Jude. We'll make a mess. She nodded, dragging herself off. Tyler exhaled, the article's sting lingering. It wasn't just an attack on his business. It was personal, a jab at everything he'd rebuilt. But they'd miscalculated. He wasn't the guy who'd crumbled during the divorce. He'd take this hit, file it away, and keep moving. The investors wouldn't see a flustered CEO tomorrow. They'd see a man who didn't break. Tyler stepped into the conference room, shoulders squared, briefcase in hand. The Seattle venture capital firm's office was all glass and steel, a stark contrast to the gray drizzle outside. 5 investors sat around a polished table, faces neutral but expectant. 3 men, 2 women, all sharp-eyed. He'd rehearsed this pitch until it was muscle memory, but the smear article from yesterday still burned in his mind. Connor and Madison wanted him shaken. They'd get Steele instead. Morning, Tyler said, voice clear, setting his laptop down. Thanks for having me. He shook hands, reading their vibes. Curious, not hostile. Good. The article hadn't poisoned the well yet. He launched into the pitch, slides clicking smoothly. Brennan Solutions' numbers were his weapon. 20% revenue growth, 95% client retention, 2 major contracts locked, a third on deck. He laid it out clean, no fluff, letting the data speak. We're lean, he said, but that's our edge. Every dollar counts, every project delivers. The investors nodded, one jotting notes. Tyler shifted gears, weaving in his story, not as a sob but a flex. 2 years ago, I started this from nothing. Single dad, post-divorce, late nights coding while my kids slept. Today, we're a team of 10, serving clients who stick with us because we over-deliver. He paused, meeting their eyes. That's not luck. That's who we are. A woman in her 50s, Ellen, leaned forward. Impressive, but growth like this? How do you sustain it? Any risks we should know about? Tyler's pulse ticked up. She was probing, maybe sniffing for the article's rumors. He kept his face steady. Risks, always. Market shifts, competition. But we mitigate with tight ops and client trust. No over-leverage, no shortcuts. You're not just investing in code, you're backing a machine that's built to last. She nodded, satisfied. Another investor, a younger guy named Raj, asked about scalability. Tyler had that locked, rolling out projections, new hires, expanded services, 30% growth with their capital. He painted the vision, Brennan Solutions as a regional powerhouse, not a flash-in-the-pan startup. Questions came fast, tech stack, client churn, exit strategy. Tyler answered with precision, no hesitation. He could feel the room warming, their skepticism thawing. Ellen cracked a smile when he described a client who'd sent him a thank-you whiskey bottle after a project. Raj laughed outright at Tyler's quip about coding through a power outage by flashlight. The smear article faded from his mind. This was his turf, numbers, grit, results. He racked with a quiet fire. I'm not here for a quick win. I'm building something my kids can be proud of, something that outlives me. With your backing, we'll do it faster, stronger. Silence settled, the good kind. Ellen spoke first. Tyler, that's compelling. We'll need to discuss, but you've given us plenty to chew on. He nodded, packing up. Appreciate the time. I'm here for any follow-ups. Handshakes again, firmer now, their eyes carrying respect. He'd nailed it. Not just the pitch, but the room. They saw him, not the rumors. 2 days later, at the PTA meeting, Tyler stood in Roosevelt Elementary's gym, folding chairs creaking around him. Madison and Connor were there, across the room, her smile tight, his jaw tighter. Word had spread. The investors had called that morning, deal secured, 7 figures to fuel Brennan's growth. Tyler hadn't planned to gloat, but the moment called for it. He raised a hand when the floor opened. Quick announcement, he said, voice carrying. Brennan Solutions just closed a major investment. We're expanding, hiring, doubling down on Seattle. Thanks to everyone who's supported us. He didn't look at Madison or Connor, but he felt their stares, sharp as knives. The room clapped, a few parents nodding his way. Madison's laugh rang out later, forced and thin. Connor stayed silent. Tyler sat back, calm washing over him. Round 1 was his. Tyler's phone lit up with Madison's name, a text cutting through the late afternoon quiet. Can we talk? Just us. Coffee tomorrow, 10 a.m. Bean and leaf. He stared at it, thumb hovering. The investor wind still buzzed in his veins, but this wasn't a truce. She didn't do olive branches. This was a play, and he'd walk in, ready. Next morning, Tyler pushed open the cafe door, the smell of espresso hitting him as he scanned the room. Madison sat by the window, legs crossed, scrolling her phone like she was posing for her own feed. Her blonde hair caught the light, but her smile when she saw him was tight. Less influencer, more chess player. Tyler, she said, standing for a half hug he barely returned. Thanks for coming. He nodded, sitting across from her, ordering a black coffee when the barista swung by. What's up, Madison? She leaned in, voice low, like they were sharing secrets. I heard about your big deal. Congrats. Really? Her eyes didn't match the words, too sharp, too searching. Thanks, Tyler said, flatly. What's this about? Madison sighed, twirling her latte spoon. Things got messy. At school, with the kids' schedules, all of it. I don't want us fighting. They deserve better. Her tone was soft, practiced, but Tyler caught the dodge. She wasn't here for Emma and Jude. Kids are fine, he said, sipping his coffee. We've got the schedule down. What's really going on? Her smile flickered. Okay, fine, it's Connor. She leaned closer, voice dropping. He's been intense lately, business stuff. I think he might have stepped over a line with your company. I didn't know, Ty, I swear. Tyler's grip tightened on his mug, but his face stayed stone. What kind of line? She hesitated, like she was weighing how much to spill. He's been talking to people. Vendors, maybe clients. I overheard him mention your firm, something about opportunities. I told him to back off, but you know how he is. Tyler leaned back, mind racing. This was her pivot. Play innocent, shift the blame, keep her hands clean. But the article, Stratus Acquisitions, Connor's firm, it all tied back to her too. You're saying Connor's coming after my business and you had no clue? His voice was calm, but the edge was there. Madison's eyes widened, just enough to sell the act. I didn't sign up for that. I'm trying to keep things stable, for the kids. She reached out, brushing his hand. We were married, Ty. I still care. He pulled back, slow but deliberate. You cared when you signed on with Stratus. Your name's on the LLC, Madison. Don't play dumb. Her face froze, the mask slipping. You've been digging, she said, voice cooler now. It's just a side thing. Connor needed a partner. It's not about you. Bullshit, Tyler said, low enough not to draw stares. Someone faked an inquiry to my vendor. A smear hit my firm right before my pitch. You expect me to believe that's all Connor, and you're just along for the ride? Madison's lips parted, but no words came. She sat back, folding her arms. You're paranoid. Always have been. Maybe, Tyler said, standing, tossing a 10 on the table. But I'm not wrong. Tell Connor to enjoy his opportunities. I'm coming for him. He walked out, her stare burning into his back. The air outside was crisp, grounding him. Madison's act was good, tears on deck, blame shifted, but he saw through it. She wasn't covering for Connor. She was testing him, seeing if he'd bite. He had, but not the way she wanted. This wasn't over. It was just getting started. Tyler leaned against his kitchen counter, the coffee shop confrontation with Madison still raw in his mind. Her words, half-truths, deflections had only hardened his resolve. The kids were at school, the house quiet, giving him space to think. He wasn't buying her innocent act, not with Stratus Acquisitions tying her to Connor's schemes. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a fight. And he was done playing defense. He grabbed his phone and called Mark, his lawyer, who picked up mid-sentence, already in motion. Got your email about the coffee shop. Madison's slipping if she thinks you'll swallow that "I didn't know" line. She's covering, Tyler said, pacing. Tried to pin it all on Connor, but her name's on their LLC. She's in deep. Agreed, Mark said. I pulled more on Stratus. It's a shell, barely any filings, no real assets. Looks like a front to funnel deals or hide tracks. Connor's West Dynamics is shadier though. Got a tip he's been pitching to your competitors, fishing for dirt. Tyler's grip tightened. Dirt like that article? Exactly. Crest Communications. I traced it. Shell company, linked to a P.O. box Connor's firm used last year. It's him, no question. Tyler stopped pacing, jaw tight. What's our move? We build a case, Mark said. You've got the vendor email, the article, Stratus Records. I'm drafting a cease and desist to Connor's firm, vague enough to spook him without tipping our hand. Meantime, keep logging anything suspicious. Calls, emails, even Madison's texts. Done, Tyler said. What about legal steps? If they're coming for my business, I want them stopped. Working on it. If we prove interference or defamation, we can hit them with an injunction, maybe damages, but we need more. Paper trail, witnesses. You talked to your clients yet? Emailed them, Tyler said. No bites on weird contacts, but they're solid. I'm not losing them. Good, keep it tight. I'll update you tomorrow. Tyler hung up, the plan grounding him. He opened his laptop, pulling up his notes, dates, names, every detail since the vendor email. Madison's coffee shop sob story went in too, time-stamped. No more reacting. He was building a wall, brick by brick, and they'd crash into it. He thought of Emma and Jude, their faces at breakfast, oblivious to the storm. Madison might use them as leverage, spin some story to sway them. Not happening. He'd shield them, same as his firm. The time for dodging was over. He was drawing the line, here, now. And crossing it meant war. Tyler's office was a fortress of focus, the hum of his laptop the only sound as he sifted through the latest from Mark. The lawyer's email had landed an hour ago, a goldmine of dirt, bank records showing Stratus Acquisitions funneling cash to Crest Communications, the PR firm behind the smear article. A second document tied Connor's West Dynamics to a string of shell companies, all linked to shady bids on small tech firms. It wasn't just a hunch anymore. They'd been gunning for Brennan Solutions, step by calculated step. He leaned back, the weight of proof grounding him. Madison's coffee shop act, Connor's oily confidence, it all unraveled here, in black and white numbers. Tyler pictured them squirming when this hit. But he wasn't ready to strike yet. He needed precision, not just a swing. He called Mark, who answered with a grunt. "You read the files?" "Every word," Tyler said. "It's damning. What now?" "We move quiet," Mark said. "I've got a contact who knows Connor's biggest backer, some angel investor named Hargrove. I'm sending him a summary of this, no names, just enough to spook. If Hargrove pulls funding, Connor's house of cards folds." Tyler nodded, though Mark couldn't see it. "And Madison?" "She's trickier. Her name's on Stratus, but she's insulated. Probably Connor's design. We'll lean on her indirectly. I'm drafting letters to Stratus's registered vendors, hinting at an investigation. She'll panic when they start asking questions." "Do it," Tyler said. "What about my end?" "Keep your clients tight. I saw your investor deal. Nice work. Double down on that momentum. If Connor's crew's sniffing around, show them you're untouchable." Tyler hung up, already pulling up his client list. He'd sent another round of check-ins yesterday, all warm, all answered with enthusiasm. His firm was solid, but Mark was right. Momentum was armor. He opened a draft for a press release about the investment, short and sharp, to bury the old smear article in search results. Sarah would polish it tomorrow. His phone buzzed. Emma, texting a photo of her science project, a lopsided volcano. "Look, Dad, it actually works." Tyler grinned, typing back, "That's my girl. Save some lava for me." The kids were his fuel, untouched by this mess. He'd keep it that way. Back to work. Tyler forwarded Mark's files to a secure folder, then printed hard copies, locking them in his safe. Paranoid maybe, but Connor had taught him caution. He pictured the man's smirk at school drop-off, the way Madison played innocent. They'd built their plan on him being weak, distracted. Wrong bet. Mark's plan rolled out over the next week. Hargrove, Connor's backer, got the anonymous tip and started asking questions. Tyler heard through Mark that the investor was reassessing commitments. 2 Stratus vendors called Madison, rattled by legal-sounding letters. Tyler didn't gloat, but he felt the tide turning. Connor's empire was cracking, and Madison's perfect mask wouldn't hold much longer. Tyler stood, stretching, the office dark except for his desk lamp. He'd started this fight cornered, but now he was the one closing in. One by one, their moves would fail, and when they did, he'd be there, watching. Tyler sat in a dimly lit diner, the kind with sticky tables and coffee that tasted like regret. Across from him, Connor West looked like a man who'd slept in his suit tie loose, eyes bloodshot, no trace of the smug grin from school drop-offs. The message had come yesterday, short and desperate. Need to meet. Alone. 7 p.m., Harbor Diner. Tyler had agreed, not out of mercy but because he wanted to see how far Connor would fall. "Thanks for coming," Connor said, voice low, hands fidgeting with a napkin. "I didn't think you would." Tyler leaned back, arms crossed. "I'm here, talk." Connor glanced around like he expected spies in the empty booths. Things got out of hand, the article, the vendor's stuff. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I was just exploring options. He tried a weak smile, but it died under Tyler's stare. "Options," Tyler repeated, voice flat. "Like tanking my business, stealing my clients, that kind of exploring?" Connor winced, rubbing his neck. "It wasn't personal. You're doing well, Ty. Too well, maybe. I saw an angle, thought I could leverage it." He trailed off, the excuse limp. Tyler's jaw tightened. He pictured the smear article, the Stratus bank records, Madison's fake tears at the coffee shop. "You and Madison set up a whole LLC for this. Hired a PR firm to trash me." "That's not an angle. That's a plan." Connor's eyes darted away. "Madison didn't. She was just along for the ride. I pushed it. Got greedy." He leaned forward, voice dropping. "Hargrove's out. My vendors are spooked. I'm done, okay? You win." Tyler didn't blink. "Not good enough. You don't get to wave a white flag and walk. I want a confession. Written, signed, every detail. The article, Stratus, the vendor calls. All of it." Connor's face paled. "That'll bury me." "You buried yourself," Tyler said, voice cold. "And I want an agreement. You stay away from my business, my clients, my life. Legally binding. My lawyer's already drafting it." Connor slumped, the fight draining out of him. "You've got it all figured, huh?" "Had to," Tyler said. "You forced my hand." Silence stretched, broken only by the clink of a waitress's tray. Connor stared at the table, then nodded, slow and defeated. "Fine. I'll sign whatever you want. Just keep it quiet. I've got enough problems. Tyler stood, tossing a 5 for his untouched coffee. You'll hear from my lawyer tomorrow. Don't make this harder than it is. He walked out, the night air sharp against his skin. Connor's surrender felt good, but not final. Madison was still out there, her role in Stratus too deep for Connor's, she didn't know, lie to hold. Tyler wasn't done. He'd won this round, but the game wasn't over until they both paid. Tyler stood at his office window, Seattle's skyline a jagged silhouette against the dawn. Connor's confession? 3 pages, signed, detailing every move from the Stratus acquisition setup to the smear article sat locked in his safe. Mark had filed it with a notary yesterday, a legal grenade ready if needed. The agreement banning Connor from Tyler's business was ironclad, already in force. One domino down. Madison was quieter now, her social media posts less frequent, her perfect veneer cracking. Word spread fast in their circles. Stratus vendors had cut ties, and Connor's West Dynamics was bleeding cash. Tyler didn't leak the confession, didn't need to. The truth had a way of seeping out, and Madison's spot was dimming without her lifting a finger. Brennan Solutions, meanwhile, was soaring. The investor funds hit last week, and Tyler had already hired 2 new developers, with plans for a third. Client contracts poured in, old ones renewed without a whisper of doubt. The smear article was buried, drowned by a press release Sarah crafted, touting the firm's growth and unshakable leadership. Tyler's phone buzzed daily with industry contacts, offers, partnerships, even a speaking gig at a tech conference. He'd said no to that one. His focus was here, his team, his kids, his life. Emma and Jude felt the shift too. At pickup yesterday, Emma had hugged him longer than usual, her voice quiet. You seem happier, Dad. Jude, sketching a rocket, chimed in, Yeah, you don't frown as much. Tyler had laughed, ruffling their hair. They saw it. A weight gone, a lightness he hadn't felt since before the divorce. He turned from the window, grabbing his laptop. An email from Mark waited. Stratus officially dissolved. Madison's name off the records. She's out of the game. Tyler exhaled, the final knot loosening. She'd played her part, whether Connor admitted it or not, but she'd lost her leverage. Her influencer glow couldn't hide the fallout, and Tyler didn't care to gloat. Let her fade. The kids' laughter echoed from memory, grounding him. He'd fought for them, as much as for himself. Emma's sharp wit, Jude's endless drawings, their trust in him. He'd kept them safe from the storm, and now the skies were clear. His firm wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. A testament to every sleepless night, every choice to keep going. Tyler shut the laptop and grabbed his jacket. Tonight was pizza night with the kids, a tradition he'd missed during the chaos. He pictured their faces, sauce-smeared and grinning, and something settled in his chest. Not victory, peace. He'd rebuilt more than a business. He'd reclaimed himself. Tyler's kitchen glowed warm under the pendant lights, the smell of roasted vegetables and garlic bread filling the air. The table was a happy mess, plates with half-eaten pasta, Jude's sketchbook open to a spaceship, Emma's phone propped up with a video, paused. Laughter bounced between them, easy and real, as Tyler poured sparkling cider into mismatched glasses. To us, he said, raising his glass, eyes crinkling at Emma and Jude. Across the table, Caleb, his new partner, joined in, his quiet smile steady as always. They clinked glasses, Jude giggling when cider fizzed over his fingers. Dad, you're gonna have to clean that, Emma teased, tossing him a napkin. Worth it, Tyler shot back, winking. He leaned back, taking it in, his kids, their chatter, Caleb's hand brushing his under the table. This was home, not just the house, but the feeling, built from scratch after years of wreckage. Jude shoved a drawing toward Caleb. Look, it's got lasers now. Caleb, a graphic designer with a knack for indulging Jude's imagination, studied it seriously. Those are definitely plasma beams. Nice work, kid. Emma rolled her eyes but grinned. You're enabling him. Somebody's gotta, Caleb said, nudging her. She laughed, and Tyler's heart tugged. Emma didn't warm to people fast, but Caleb had earned her trust, same as he'd earned Tyler's. They cleared plates together, Jude insisting on stacking them. Like a tower. Tyler caught Caleb's eye over the sink, a shared look that said more than words. 6 months ago, Tyler hadn't thought he'd open up again, not after Madison's betrayal, not with the fight to protect his business. But Caleb had slipped into his life quietly, no demands, just presence. A coffee date became dinner, then nights like this. Later, with the kids in bed, Emma reading, Jude snoring with a pencil still in hand, Tyler and Caleb sat on the couch, a single lamp casting soft shadows. Tyler stretched, arm around Caleb's shoulders. Thanks for tonight, he said, voice low. Caleb tilted his head. For eating your food? Anytime. For being here, Tyler corrected, serious now. This, us, the kids. It's more than I thought I'd get. Caleb's hand found his, steady. You built this, Ty. I'm just glad I get to be part of it. Tyler looked out the window, the dark street calm. He thought of the fight, Madison's schemes, Connor's collapse, the long nights proving his worth. It wasn't just about winning. It was about this moment, the laughter, the warmth, the life he'd reclaimed. He wasn't the man who'd lost everything anymore. He was the one who'd made it through. He squeezed Caleb's hand, smiling. Here's to more of it.